So Sony just had a state of play recently that's came and went, and I think it's safe to say that one of the highlights of the presentation was the announcement of Rayman Legends Retold. Now this of course is a remake of Rayman Legends, which I consider one of the greatest 2D platformers of all time, and I've just got some thoughts on it. Now I would like to make something very clear from the get-go. I do think Retold visually looks fantastic. The environments and animations are amazing, and I don't think the characters and settings of the Rayman world have ever looked this good. And it's been quite some time since we've last had a full-on Rayman game since the original Legends, so it's nice to bring him back into the public limelight with something we know will be a good time. But, similarly to how I feel about Star Fox on Switch 2, I can't help but feel like this direction would have been better off going into something completely new that isn't based off the foundation of something we've already seen. Considering the original Legends was the sequel to Origins, which itself was already somewhat of a reboot of the original Rayman after the series went dormant following the rise of the Rabbids, it's becoming more apparent that we have this pattern in the gaming industry, where in order to revive a dormant franchise, it always has to start with a remake of something old before moving on to something new, so that those that didn't initially play whatever the original version was can catch up by the time the new thing does come around. And don't get me wrong, it's not my intention to gatekeep more opportunities for new players to experience what some of us more seasoned fans have already experienced, but in Rayman Legends' case, the original version is still highly accessible on modern platforms through backwards compatibility, and the art direction was already timeless enough and a huge part of its appeal. So did we really need to give it yet another makeover, when we could have moved on to a more original title that could have then claimed this new art style as part of its unique identity and get us even more excited for Rayman's return? Surely that latter option would feel much more impactful. Hell, I'd even argue that Rayman's inclusion in the Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope DLC a few years back was a more exciting announcement, because despite it not being a full-on new platformer, it still put Rayman in a new scenario on top of the prospect of him crossing over with something Mario related while reuniting with the Rabbids in the process. And also, unlike Star Fox on Switch 2, which I'd argue is a tad more necessary because ideally Nintendo wants potential new fans to be up to speed with the story of Star Fox 64 that sets the rest of the series in motion, therefore making new players excited for future entries beyond this one. I feel like Rayman Legends has less of an emphasis on having to understand what's going on, and this is after we remember that it technically takes place immediately after the events of Origins, so does that mean the latter should have been remade instead? Technically, it can be argued that the Phantom Show was the true starting point of a potential Rayman resurgence, while Legends Retold is just the next natural step, as we did also get the 30th anniversary edition of the original Rayman earlier this year, on top of the general fanfare surrounding this milestone that we've seen on Ubisoft's social media. So there's always room for new content beyond Retold. We're just going to have to wait a tad longer for something even newer from the looks of it. With that being said, I'm not by any means disappointed by the announcement of Retold. Like I said at the start, I can't deny that it looks fantastic. The way the camera shifts perspectives during certain set pieces gives me strong Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze vibes and helps make things feel just a bit more grand and cinematic. Fully voice acted dialogue also goes a long way with making the cast feel much more lively, and it does appear as if the story is being tweaked a little bit here and there based on the cinematic towards the end. Granted, it's been a long time since I last played the original Legends, but I'm pretty sure at the very least this is new territory. So it is indeed more than just a copy and paste job that remakes typically get branded as by audiences. Overall, despite feeling that Ubisoft could have taken a different approach to bringing Rayman back, I still think Legends Retold looks great and hope it will reignite general public interest for new content later on down the line. Maybe I'll even give it a go myself if I'm not too busy with Wolverine by then, as they are scheduled to release pretty close to one another. Feel free to let me know what you think of Rayman Legends Retold in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to my channel for all sorts of gaming coverage. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, see you later.